Hi Rock Dogs, Mr. P here. Today we are doing the Trinity Rock and Pop Grade 3 songs, and we are doing Sweet Child of Mine, which is one of the technical focus songs. And first thing we're going to do is show you how to count. If you look at it, the first 8 bars are rests for the drummer. That's the guitar intro. And this is how you count them. In 4/4, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. The reason we do that is you know what bar number you're up to. Because if you just keep going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll get confused. It's a good tip. That's how you count bars, empty bars. Okay, bar 9, we hit the crash on beat 1 and the bass drum. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we don't play anything on beat 4. It's a 8th note rest or a quaver rest. And then after that, we've got a semi-quaver triplet into the first beat of the bar 10. So it's, I use a drink, I go bucket of tea. Okay? You could go lemonade tea, lemonade tea. So it goes like this. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, lemonade tea, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, lemonade tea, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, lemonade tea, 2, 3, 4. Now, at bar 15 and bar 16, this is the bit that's really hard for everybody. Again, it needs proper counting, proper music counting. I could go tea, coffee, 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 coffee. It's not going to help you. This is where you've got to start actually counting music properly. Beat 1 is a crash and a bass. 1. You're going to put your right hand on the floor tom, left hand on the snare, and you're at a P. P for piano, nice and soft. So we're going to start quiet. Now we go to an F, a forte, loud. So we go 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. We have to get louder. So 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, so that's how we do it. Now, this is the hard bit. On bar 16, it's the 3 and the 4 and that we're going to look at really closely. This is the bit everybody gets wrong. Beat 3 is 2 hands and a foot together. 3. Then the and is played on its own with a bass drum. And. Beat 4 is played as a flam, not a phlegm. Right, that's a 4, okay? And then an and on the bass drum. And then into 17, we do the crash of the first beat. So it's 3 and 4 and 1, okay? 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. For those of you who have lessons with me and you're online, beat 17, the groove is exercise 8, a quaver groove. That's the groove. At bar 24, we have our first kind of what I call a groove fill. The drinks in that bar is coffee, 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 tea. All sounds very easy. But again, this is where it catches a lot of students out. On beat 1, it's the bass drum and the hi-hat. And then quickly on the and, we've got to do the crash and the snare. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Let's do it really slow so you can just check it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Just remember, every time you hit a crash, you're going to hit your left hand on the snare. So up to speed. And then the bar 25, straight into the groove again. So let me just play that as 2 bars. 23, 24 into 25. And you're into the groove. That needs a lot of practice. It takes a little bit of time. And then at bar 33 is our next big difficult one. Again, we could be going coffee, 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 coffee. 4 coffees, yeah. 4 drinks in a 4/4. But no, again, it's easier to count this. This is where you get into grade 3. We've got to start thinking musical counting. We still use our drinks. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. This one, we are doing exercise, for those of you who have lessons with me, exercise 16. So, and you're on the ride. Remember the X is on the top line, that means it's the ride. And just the groove on its own, exercise 16, is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Boom, T, boom, boom, T. Boom, T, boom, boom, T. Now, why the students struggle with this is because you've got those two crashes. You've got them on the first beat and the and of 2. So again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And the and of 3 is just the bass on its own, and that's what gets everybody confused. It takes a while. So just sit at home nice and slowly going. And then you got it sussed. Do everything slowly, get faster. Right, so we go into the second page. We're up to bar 37, 38, 39, and bar 40. At bar 40, we have, again, we have to count that. It goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That's the crash and the snare. So it goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That goes then into the first time bar. You play through that. That's the normal groove, still on the ride. Same groove feel there. And then you repeat back to the page and you go through the whole thing again. And then we miss the first time bar because we only play it once. And we go to the second time bar, which is the guitar solo in this grade. Now, you can see here we have measure marks. Measure marks are like the composer or the arranger saying, look, you know what the groove is, guys, but can you do some extra stuff? So let's think of what extra stuff we could do. If we look at bar 33, we could use a bit of that in this bit. We could go crash and T, crash and T, crash and T, crash, bass T. Now if we put an and at the end of 4, a bass drum at the end of 4, it's going to go boom, T, boom, boom, T, boom, boom, T, boom, boom, T, boom, boom. Now every bass, apart from the and of 3, let's put a crash on it. Boom, T, crash, bass T, crash, crash, T, bass T, crash, crash, T, crash, crash, T, bass, bass. 41B, 42B, 43, 44B on the 4th beat, we can put a nice Coca-Cola in. Okay, so Coca-Cola, we go right hand Coke, Cola, around the drums. So this is what, put that all together. And then you have a nice feel. Those are the things that will give you your extra marks. They're asking you to show off a little bit. They're asking you to keep to a similar groove to what you're playing, but you're adding extra things. So the extra feel on beat 4 really works well. That then takes you into the breakdown. The breakdown is a cross stick. And the cross stick, Hal told us to put your stick across the drum, and what you're looking for is, as the stick thickens round about there, if you're on an acoustic kick, you'll get a really nice clicky sound. And if you're on acoustic kicks, you'll see a difference. It's quite dead here, and as you come up to about there on that shaft, it was nice. Now to hold the stick, put your hand like that, squeeze your 2 fingers, have those other 3 fingers sitting there, and just lift your wrist. And this is an MP, mezzo piano. We're going to do it quite quietly. Now, for 49, 50, 50, at 52, bar 52, this is also throws students because beat 1 is just a hi-hat, then it's an and. So 1 and, 2 and 3 and then the bass drum, snare, they're all together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Really important you get that extra bass drum. It does sound quite effective. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 53 goes back to the groove. 54, same. 55, you take out one of the cross stick This is called a cross stick, in case I haven't said that already. So it goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Remember, I'm not going coffee, 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 coffee. I could do that, but you're going to lose that where you are, and this is why the counting now is important. 1 and, so it goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Right, bar 57, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now look at the dynamics, it's MF, mezzo forte, so we're playing this a little bit heavier. 1 and 2 and 3 and a flam with an accent, so nice and loud. One note smaller, it's not a phlegm, it's a flam, and you do that 3 times. Then you've got an open hi-hat in at bar 60, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so you need to practice open hi-hats, they're really important. And then you've got, towards the end of the song, 64 triplets. Lemonade, lemonade tea. Okay, that's how it goes. La 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 la, and they're all flams. La 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 la. You know how you want to do it. La 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 la. So it's practice, good practice actually, to switch hands. Don't have to, but that's a good way to do flams. Okay, so it's 1 2 3 1 2 3 1, and the whole band are playing that. It's like a tutti at the end. A tutti is when all the musicians are playing the same rhythms, and it's an F, so it's quite loud. I do 2 sticks on the crashes on the last note as well for effect and dynamic. So that's the playthrough. Good luck everybody. Subscribe and like. I hope that helps you when you're learning the song. We've got the song online for you to play along with as well. Good luck. See you on the next one. Cheers.